to go a little bit farther now, you need to understand that there's two kinds of gold, okay? And the first kind of gold is called placer gold. Okay, I'm from Ohio and I don't know anything about mining. I know zero. Okay, but what I do know is that I can get gold out of the streams and from the sands and gravels, and it's a very small capital investment. All I need is a pan and a pick and a shovel. And if I had enough money, I'd have a horse or a burro to help me carry my pack. Otherwise, I just went like this and I carried it myself. And I'm to somehow live off the land, and I scrape up some money from relatives because it's going to cost me some money to eat while I'm here. But anyway, the whole idea about panning for gold is, as a placer gold miner, is that that's all I need. There's no capital investment. It's very, very small. And anybody can learn to pan gold in about a minute or less. 2 minutes if you're not very bright. But I can teach you in about a minute pretty easily. And why does it work so well? It's a gravity separation procedure of free gold that's in the sands and gravels. The reason it works in gravity is because gold is very dense compared to rock. How dense is it? Average rock, sands and gravels that you just pick out of a stream, it runs around 2 to 4 grams per cubic centimeter. Well, okay, that's the measurement of the density, where water is 1. Okay, so if you're more dense than water, then you sink in water. So sands and gravels are 2 to 4 to 5, something like that. Now, lead is a pretty heavy element, isn't it? This particular sample I have is lead, and you can see the crystal faces on this lead sample of lead. Lead is 11.3 grams per cc. So it's 11 times heavier than water, and it sinks like a stone, like the stone it is. It's very heavy. But you see, you could recognize this, even if you weren't very smart, you could recognize these crystal faces and stuff if it was laying in the dirt or in the stream bed, right? Okay, so that's lead. Now, where is gold? Gold is 19.3 grams per cc. It's one of the heaviest elements on Earth. So you can understand then that if I can get a pan full of sands and gravels and it's got some gold in it, hopefully, and I can start agitating it in the water to get the sands and gravels kind of in suspension like clothes in a washing machine, the gold just rains right straight to the bottom of the pan. Just goes right straight to the bottom. Okay, no problem. Because it's so dense, it's so much denser than everything else. And I keep pouring off the sands and gravels from the top, and I concentrate the gold in the bottom, if I have it. Okay? So that's what placer mining is all about, and that's why it works so well. Gravity separation using water, typically. Okay, that's what we're doing here in Colorado. Now, the thing about placers, or placer mining, is that it's free gold, because everybody knows, I think most people know, that's why we make gold rings, is that gold doesn't react with other things very easily. It's very difficult to react gold. You can, but it's very difficult. So body oils and acids don't tarnish gold. If it tarnishes, it's usually not gold, right? Yeah, everybody knows that. And the reason is it doesn't chemically react. So gold in the sands, in the gravels and sands of the stream, it's free gold. There's nuggets. This gentleman over here's got, this lady's got gold nuggets hanging on their chains. In fact, if I was you, I'd cover it up. Today's prices, don't let anybody rip it off your neck. She's got quite a beautiful solid gold nugget, and he's got a really nice nugget, but it's still gold in the quartz, in the rock. But in any case, it's mostly free. So when I shake the pan and everything, I can get the gold and separate it out and put it in my pouch, put it on my hip, and keep working. When Gregory made the strike in Gregory Gulch, Central City, he estimated that his first pan contained 1/4 ounce of gold. So he found $5 worth of gold in a few minutes. Okay, he knew he had something pretty significant when he did that. And of course that kicked off the gold rush in Central City. Now it's kind of interesting that because gold is discovered in 1858 in Colorado, 1859 is the big rush, that a lot of the gold that was discovered in that first year. 1859, Central City, Blackhawk, Idaho Springs, Fairplay, Granite, just north of us here. These things were found almost immediately. People immediately scattered up the streams in all directions, start looking for the source of the gold. And they were placer miners, or prospectors, as we say, okay? Now think about a prospector. He's got to do the sands and gravels in the stream. And how much sand and gravel is in the stream anyway, by the way? If you're lucky, the depth of the sand and gravel you get to bedrock is only a foot or two, maybe 5 feet if you're lucky. And it only goes the width of the stream, maybe a little bit wider, depends if it's what we call a paleo stream, where the stream used to be hundreds of thousands of years ago, and it was still gold bearing. Okay, that would have happened. But after you mine that out, you've mined out all the placer gold. There's no more gold. You have to move. So placer mining, by its nature, because the limited reservoir or the limited amount of sands and gravels is always going to go away very quickly. You're never going to be able to stay there very long, okay? So that's another reason why the prospectors were migrant workers. They had to keep moving and keep moving. So that's why they never bothered to build a cabin. Now, they could pan out their claim maybe in one summer. The next summer they have to go somewhere else. So, and they were always looking for something richer, right? On a richer strike, get more gold in a short period of time. Now, placers can be very, very productive. They really can, and we don't ever want to downplay the value of a placer claim because they can be very productive. In Leadville, for example, when gold was discovered there in 1860, 1 year later, they took out $5 million worth of gold, remember at $20.67 in the first 5 years. And Leadville went from no people to probably 2,000 people to basically 20 or 30 people 5 years later. So that's why do we have so many ghost towns in Colorado? That's the reason, especially if they were placer claims, they just don't last because there just isn't enough reservoir to work. Now the gold gets into the streams from the hard rock. This is a different game, okay? So the second kind of gold claim that I want to talk about is lode gold. Now in lode gold, this is the rock that's got the gold in it. In this case, this is a piece of ore from an active mine. It's a silver mine and it has traces of gold in it. Say I find this rock on the surface up in the mountain and I throw it in my pan. What am I going to do with this? I can't do a thing with this, okay? This is lode gold mining. I'm a placer miner. I don't know what to do with this stuff, but my placers are all worked out. We've worked out every placer in Colorado, pretty much. There's some exceptions. I'll talk about that later, maybe. But the point is that I'm now out of business, and we have to now become hard rock miners to get this gold. Now, it's fine to say that, oh, I got a really great, rich gold vein here in the mountain. We can mine that rock. What am I going to do with it? What can I do with it? There are no railroads. There's a wagon road that you're lucky if you can find it, or if you can find Indian game trails. But I'd have to move it to what's called a mill. This rock has to be ground up, powder fine, to get the gold separated from the rest of the rock. Now wait a second. I'm a placer miner. I don't have any money. I can't afford to build a mill. You have to build these big machines. You have to have some kind of power. You know, we need stampers, or we need ball mills, or we need all this kind of stuff, and we need to separate it. And I don't have the money to do that. That's why we have corporations, right? So we go to a bank and we get some investors and say, look, I got this gold strike on lode gold up in Leadville. We need a mill. You guys want to invest in a mill? I'll oversee it and I'll run it, and you guys give me the money and we'll build it. And we can process ore from all the local mines. And that's, of course, what has to happen. The mill has got to be constructed first. And a mill is simply everybody knows what a mill is. Now you send your flour to a mill. It's just a mechanical grinding process. There's no chemical process involved. It's strictly grinding and gravity separation. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But in any case, so what happens to our miners after about 10 years is they become hard rock miners, okay? That's the job. Now, what does a hard rock miner make in 1865? He makes $2.50 a day, okay? Now, that's a pretty good wage if you're still working in Pennsylvania with $1 a day. Sounds pretty good.